You gods in heaven, you have watched me here on this tower all night, every night, for 12 months. Tethered on the roof of this palace like a dog. It is time to release me. I'm tired of the moon coming and going like the tide of its two turns. In, out, in, out. I'm sick of the heavens, sick of the darkness. The one light I wait for never comes. Maybe it will never come. Let that beacon and flare come leaping from the east to release me. A beacon and flare that leaps from peak to peak, going in the news from Troy. Victory. After 10 years of victory. The one word Clytemnestra prays for. Queen Clytemnestra, who bears a man's heart in a woman's body. A man's dreadful will in her body as a scabbard. I get up, sodden with dew. I walk to shift my eggs, but when I lie down, the eggs worsen. No dreams, no sleep, only fear. Here, high in my belly like a solid lump of indigestion. A seething. Singing's good for fear, but when I try to sing, weeping comes. I weep and there's no keeping it down. I weep for all that's changed in this palace. The rightful king, order, safety, splendour, all gone. Gods, release me. Let that beacon flare come leaping from the east to release me. What's that? Right there, in the east, what must be the skyline. Right there. A flickering point and getting brighter. The beacon! Tell the queen it's the beacon! It's flaring up! Agamemnon is coming home! Troy has fallen! Throughout Argos, every altar, every god is ablaze, from the kitchen shrine to the high temple of Zeus. Fortunes in rich all go up in smoke, smudging the dawn. Terrorist beasts up to their knees in a flood of blood.
Are we right to smell hope in all of this, or has a worse fear come?
10 years ago, the sons of Atreus, Menelaus and Agamemnon, both divine kings, assembled 1,000 ships crowned with the youth of Hellas and sailed across the sea to punish Priam.
So now Zeus, protector of the sacred trust between guests and host, sends the two sons of Aeschylus to rip the boasting tongue from between Pallas and Helen's mouth. Spears shall splinter, and strong men kneel in their own blood.
Oh. We were too old, second childhood, propped on sticks, kept us out of a battle. We stayed here, on the scrap heap, playing with our dreams.
As our two kings set out, on their floating forest of spears, two birds, hook-beaked big-winged birds, a blackbird and a white bird, sailed over. On the right, good fortune. And these two birds, the black and the white, flushed and drove and killed a hare heavy with her twins. The whole army saw them kill the pregnant hare.
Cassandra recognized the birds, the white birds and the black. Menelaus and Agamemnon. He cried to the whole army about the two kings.
What does this kill mean? I will tell you. It means victory with a twist. When you've emptied Troy of her blood and her babies, then you can expect the anger of the heavens. Beautiful Artemis has heard the death cry of the hare. Will she bless the triumph of the great birds? Can she forgive the death cry inaudible to man of the unborn? Apollo, healing god, allay her anger before she exacts a compensation that none of us can pay. Before she pins a fleet under a fixed strong wind, forcing the two kings to sacrifice a beloved, bewildered creature. A sacrifice that cannot be eaten. A sacrifice that poisons the heart and pours out its blood into this palace. The bloody footprints of a sacrificed child.
This is how Cassandra unriddled the murder of the hare.
Agamemnon heard the terror stirring and looming through the words of his seer, but he was no longer a man in a man's body. He was a war machine, a launch campaign, a whole nation of evil. Meanwhile, the wrong wind had caught our fleet, trapping them in that bay. The weeks passed, the ringing of the ships rotted, and the men fermented.
Men's minds started to go. Explosions of boredom, screaming quarrels, senseless killings.
Mutinies, desertions, feuds between factions.
Finally, the sickness. Under that locked wind, the overcrowded prison that had been an army became a hospital.
At that point, Calchas the seer spoke to the heavens. He told us what had to be done to shift that wind. Agamemnon, when he heard it, roared with anguish. The warlords cried out incredulous with grief. Their royal stairs pounded the earth. But then, Agamemnon, our general for good reason, mastered himself with painful words.
So if I obey the goddess, my own daughter has to die. If I deny the goddess, this whole army must dissolve. If I obey the goddess and kill my daughter, what do I become? A monster to myself, to the whole world, and for all time, a monster. Perfuming my bath after battle with the blood of Iphigenia, painting my royal palace with the blood of Iphigenia, filling the drinking glasses of my family with the blood of Iphigenia. This is how I will live on in men's minds. But if I deny the goddess, what will happen? Will it be worse? As if I deserted this whole army, shunning men, shunned by men, wherever men gossip together, a term of contempt. If my daughter dies, the winds change, and sacrifice myself, saw every warrior to live as if already dead.
With these words, Agamemnon surrendered to necessity.
Prayers go up. Her father gives a signal. Iphigenia is hoisted off her feet over an improvised altar like a struggling calf.
The wind blows her long dress to her body. It flutters her skirt and her tangled hair. Daddy, she cries, Daddy. Her voice is whisked away by the boom of the surf.
He whispered a word she cannot hear. She chokes, hands cramming a gag into her mouth. So the cry that might have cursed the whole house of Atreus lay trapped inside her body.
I saw nothing else. I could not watch it, but I shall see the words of the prophet fulfilled. It must come when it comes. There'll be time to bewail it.
Clytemnestra,
we honour you. In the absence of Agamemnon, the king gone, we honour his queen.
What's the news? Good or bad that kindles the fires in all these altars? Or is it just a rumour? One more rumour.
The news should be delivered in a glory, like the sun itself, from the womb of night. This dawn is like a daughter to me, more beautiful than hope dared to imagine. Troy has fallen, and our kings have sacked it.
Who can be certain? How can Troy have fallen?
Only a lying God could deceive me.
Or perhaps while you slept, a dream deceived you.
You think me a feeble girl? Do you know who I am?
When did Troy fall?
Last night. This glorious morning born out of it. This huge beacon blazed from out of the east. The Greek army has taken Troy, and now they are shaking it empty. The women of Troy are a population of mourners. The men of Troy are a litter of corpses. And now conquerors. Our husbands, our fathers, our sons. They sleep in the beds of those families of which they have slaughtered. But now, let them take care to respect the gods of that city, as long as they violate nothing sacred. Violate no temple, shrine, priest or priestess. Perhaps these destroyers of a city will escape destruction. It is tempting for the winner who might have lost his life to take all, and destroy whatever cannot be taken. Let us pray they restrain themselves. The dead will have many an opportunity to avenge themselves in full on those who angered the gods. I speak as a woman, hear me. Let the cycle of killing end here. Murder for murder, evil for evil. Let this be the end of it, and let our hope succeed. I have great hope.
We shall soon know whether those beacons converted the whole of Argos into a land of day souls and sleepwalkers. There's a herald.
Now for the truth. Not a mouthful of flames and beacons, but the plain words of an eyewitness. Let hope be confirmed of flames and beacons.
At last I stand on the land where I was born. Today's sun has lifted me out of the east and brought me home. After 10 years, the one hope that matters has come true. The unlikeliest of my hopes, to die at home. You palaces, you walls, thrones and altars, welcome the creation of a new splendour. Welcome Agamemnon, the king to every one of us. Zeus set Agamemnon's hand to the plough that has toppled Troy's root upward. Her towers rubble, her territory flayed and gutted. Between his finger and thumb, Agamemnon, son of Atreus, has crumbled the city of Troy like dry tinder. And now he returns, the conqueror, to claim his honours.
Welcome this man, herald of the Greek army, herald of the fall of Troy.
10 years I have prayed to live for this moment when I could happily die.
Homesickness tortured you.
My tears are now for joy.
Your misery was half happy.
How half happy?
You needed your home, but your home needed you.
Argos needed us? What threatened you? Who? Did any oppress you or attack you?
Long ago we learned to keep our mouths shut. With silence good faith, speech can be fatal.
Who threatened Argos in the king's absence?
You have told us how death here would be welcome. If you had been speaking for us, death would be welcome.
Our huge task is done, all as we wished it. Yet what did it amount to? We suffered in the ships, tortured by boredom and lice. And on land, the dog holes were worse. The stench, the rats, the cockroaches worse. Then, God help us the winter. The wind off those white peaks. A man's back could snap if he bent of a sudden. Then in midsummer, the heat, the heat. The sea was a puddle of lead. The earth too hot for the barefoot soul. The touch of bronze blistered. Thank God it's all over. No point bemoaning it. And the dead we left out there, they rest easy. All we have now is life and a future. These exist and are good. If we're wise, we'll stay humble.
Let's bring this news to Clytemnestra. She had lived for it. I'm simply happy to overhear it.
I started rejoicing for this victory when the blaze of choice flames jumped half the world to let me see it. I was laughed at. Men jeered at credulous women. Yet I went ahead. I sacrificed. I gave thanks to the gods. Don't bother to give me your herald's official details. I shall have the whole thing from the mouth of Agamemnon. Take him this message. Argos loves him, and his wife waits for him here, and she loves him. As the day he sailed, faithful only to the one master, his treasures untouched, his queen untouched by any man, fingered by scandal, no more than a woman would wear weapons.
Are such words necessary? A queen boasting so strangely. Why should she trouble us with such denials?
To a clear understanding, her words are clear.
This is no day to count out sorrows. It's a day for thanking the gods. I haven't arrived with bulging eyes, terrified by what I have to tell you. I bring victory, the word of jubilation throughout Argos, a word like a drug that maddens with joy.
Paris came, light-hearted, guest welcome to the table of Menelaus, name on 10th of the house of Aeschylus, stole the host's wife.
The light-footed Helen flitted with Paris. She left in Argos the thunder of anger, the hammering of bronze, and the assembling of ships, and took to Troy her terrible dowry, annihilation.
Troy made a single error. It forgot the meaning of the word pledge. It forgot the terrible warriors hidden within the belly of that word. It forgot the guarantee of Zeus in the speaking of that word. The pledge between guest and host. The pledge between bride and groom.
Troy married Paris to Helen, and their ignorant marriage songs deafened them to those warriors, and the bellowing fury of Zeus that poured from the word that Paris had broken twice, deafened them to the price that Troy must pay for Helen.
A farmer took a lion cub home. He let it suckle milk with the lambs. His children played with it and cuddled it. The neighbours thought it wonderful to see the lion cub licking the father's face.
Time passed, and the day of the lion dawned over the farmer's whole family. The screams and roars went up, and blood came hurrying through the doors from the work of the lion.
King, crusher of Troy, King!
What word would be fitting to what you have done? Your victory is ours too. We honour you, Agamemnon. Among us, the stay-at-homes, you'll soon sort out those who are loyal.
And the others, you'll find them too.
First, let me call on the gods that favour Argos. You gods, you shared my revenge I took on Troy. You gods, share my triumph. Heaven heard the prayers of Argos, because they were just. But the prayers of Troy were empty. In the end, Troy was suffocated in the smoke of its own burning wealth. The gods can never be thanked, as they should be thanked. Let everybody thank them. The lion of Argos, ablaze on our shields, burst forth from the belly of a horse and left the city a bloody stain on the earth. As for your wise words, I know they are timely. Not all smiling faces can be trusted. Envy poisons triumph, like the sting of a scorpion. Kingship has taught me this. Wise voices will be valued. As for the disaffected, no matter who, and any civil infection, no matter what, our surgery shall cut deep.
Why should I be ashamed to show my love for my husband? I want to cry out what I've learned through 10 years of bitter waiting. For a woman to sit at home alone, while her husband flips his life like a coin, heads or tails, in the dust of a far-off battle. Hired to listen to travellers, day after day, darkening the house with their latest and worst. Do you see why our son Orestes is absent? Strophius, your faithful friend, he warned me what would be the fate of Orestes if you had fallen at Troy. He is safe in focus, and almost a man. As for me, my eyes are raw from staring at the lamp, night after sleepless night. Whenever I drowse, visions you even butchered burst out of the darkness. Agamemnon, step down from your chariot. But this earth is too poor for the foot that trod on the neck of Troy. Hurry. The long carpet crimson, the richest silks in all of Argos are prostrated to cushion every footfall of your triumph. Justice herself shall kiss his instep and lead him step by step into the home he never hoped to see. After this, everything shall follow as the immortals are planned.
Guardian of my name, of my home, your eulogies are like my absence. Too long, too much. If I'm to be glorified, leave it to others. Do not bend like a flattering oriental, to drape my neck with flowery orations. Do not massage me in public with oiled praise. Do not spread these crimson cloths that should only be spread for the feet of descended gods. Do not spread them for me. Greet me as a man. Greet me as a god, and the gods will punish us all. True praise needs none of these trimmings.
The gods have been good. Your treasures are overflowing with this kind of wealth. Even if the oracle had forbidden it, I have spread 20 times these. If that could have guaranteed your safe arrival here. The whole house is blessed when you step through your doorway.
This is not for me. My heart throbs with foreboding.
This could have been your promise to the gods. You could have sworn to enter your house in their honour, treading these cloths. If only it'd bring you out some desperate corner.
I might, if some holy man had approved it.
And if the gods had let you die there? How would Troy have celebrated that? Wouldn't they have spread these cloths to carpet their triumph?
I have no doubt they would.
You dare not take possession of your triumph, or act like the conqueror you are. You are afraid of the rabble's disapproval.
Do you mean the rabble or the people?
No man can be a winner on this earth, but about being cursed by the envy of the rest. The courage to win is the courage to face envy.
A woman who fears nothing. Is she a woman?
What can you fear? You are the absolute conqueror. Surrender just a little for me.
So this is a contest, which you must win.
You have your victory. Let me have mine.
How determined you are. Here, I'll unlace these leathers that have trampled the walls of Troy. When I tread this ocean purple, as if the glory were mine, let no god resent it, or be offended as it offends me to trample such richness under my unwashed feet. Woven fibres, costly as wire of silver. Do I make too much of it? This is Cassandra. Let her be careful. The gods reward a conqueror's mercy. Her house is ashes, her family is ashes, and now she is a slave. Treat her as mine, the jewel of Troy, my army's gift to me. And now, since you have conquered me in this matter, treading the crimson path, let me enter my home, at last.
Cassandra, come in. You two have to be cleansed in a ritual bath. It is too late to be proud. You are lucky. This house knows how to treat its slaves well.
Cassandra, do you hear Clytemnestra? She is speaking to you.
Is this girl crazed with shock? Or grief? Or is she an idiot?
Cassandra, you must have it's all for the best. Get down and go in.
I cannot stand here, waiting for her to come to her senses. The animals for sacrifice are all ready at the ready. Do you understand what I'm saying? Come in now. O Zeus, you who bring everything to fulfillment, fulfill my prayers. Let me perform your will. Let me fulfill it.
Apollo, God of my guidance, you led me the whole long way, only to destroy me.
It's your prophetic frenzy. She seeks to rely slavery and sorrows into the future.
Apollo, God of my guidance, what dreadful place have you brought me to?
Can't prophecy recognize the house of Atreus? This is the house of Atreus.
A house that hates God, a house that God hates. Walls weeping blood, housing butchered innocents, the blood and bones of children.
She picked up the scent like a hound, running around splashing her own blood.
Running in blood. Look, look, the witnesses. Children covering their eyes, sobbing blood through their fingers. Children chopped up, screaming and roasted and eaten by their own father.
We don't need a prophet to tell us the story.
Look there. Now, a heart pounding, thick with hatred behind that door. Evil is pouring out evil. Blood pours out of a body that expected love. Taken by surprise. Naked, helpless, bound in the net of pitiless fate. And coming through the meshes, the blade, again and again.
That first vision of yours was common knowledge. What you see now is pitch dark.
She is washing her husband in his own blood. He reaches from the bath for her hands. It jerks him into pitch darkness.
What is she talking about? Who can unravel this?
Now the net, the fish-eye terror. Death is bundling him up like a mother swaddling a child. The woman who shares his bed is driving the bronze through him. The Furies crowd into the house, gorged with the blood of this house, ravenous for the blood of this house. Look at the Furies! Look! Look! And there I am with him, carved by the same blade. Apollo, why have you tangled me in this man's horrible death?
Clear vision, dark speech. What monstrous reality is pushing to be born with this tormented mouth?
You want to know? I'll bring out a crime more terrible than my own murdered body into the glare of the sun. No more mystery. I will show you how far back this track of blood and bloody guilt began that now sets me and Agamemnon and Clytemnestra face to face today. This house is full of demons, this loathsome retinue of royal blood. Under these painted ceilings they flitter and jabber. Look at them, sitting on the walls. Children cradling the bundles of their own butchered bodies, butchered by their own families. Look, they hold out their own hearts and livers. Rib, cutlets, haunch and saddle, just as their father ate them. Tore the meat from their bones and washed it down with gulps of wine as he reached for more. This crime still has to be paid for. There is a lion in this palace, a cowardly lion, plotting the death of the great king, whose bed he lulled in for years. He does not see the great wounds swimming up towards him from the depth of the bath as his wife, the man-killer, kisses him, the woman with the heart of a demon. All she ever dreamed is the broad blade going into her husband's body. You heard her scream of triumph when she heard he was home. She made it sound like joy for his victory. You don't believe me? No matter. What is coming will come, and you will have to watch. Then you will pity me.
We know how Thetis is children, and it horrifies us. But not more than the truth of what you say astounds us. But the rest of what you say, what do we make of it? What does it mean?
It means the dead body of Agamemnon.
Are you mad? Those words should never be pronounced.
My silence cannot keep his body alive.
If the gods can hear us, he will live.
Pray for him if you like, while others kill him.
No man would dip his hand in such pollution.
Man, do you say? Did you hear my prophecy?
Such a plot in this palace. Impossible.
My Greek is clear, but still no one believes me. The floors are washed with blood.
The sacrifices have begun. They are blessings.
The whole palace reeks like a mass grave dug open. The last word, a lament, a prophecy, a prayer. You, sun in heaven, the last light on my face. Look down on all this. When the Avenger's weapon exacts the full price for Agamemnon, drop, costly drop, from his murderer's veins. Let him remember the blood, emptied from my chained slave body. Let that too be paid for.
A dark weight is in the air, some horror close, an evil settling cold on the skin.
The thought of it is weakening my entire body. I cannot run from it or escape it.
How to the offer the servants of this world to the gods, the dangerous gods, will surely buy it off.
Zeus executed the healer who would resurrect the dead. That was wise. That gave man's life value. What is a life on earth worth? What must a murderer pay for a human life that cannot be brought back?
Ah!
Whose voice is that? Somebody being murdered.
Ah! That was a death crime! Here is the king! Quick, what do we do? We must have a plan!
The whole city ought to assemble instantly, under arms.
Too slow and vain! As we break open the doors, catch them in the act!
Yes, act now, some way or another. We must act now.
The king assassinated. Every bloody regicide steps a tyrant.
Talk, talk, mutter, mutter. If we want action, we trample on caution.
Whatever we do, one thing is certain. The king stays dead.
Better dead than have our mouths stomped by a tyrant's heel.
We're in too much of a hurry. We heard the scream for sure, but to be sure the king is dead.
So, it seems agreed to make a sober inquiry for the king's health.
You heard me pronounce his words, required by the moment. The moment has passed. Those words are meaningless. How else could I have killed this man, my deadliest enemy? Lies and embrace was simply my method. The knots in the net that enmeshed him. I pondered this for a long time, and when the moment for action came, I made no mistake. See my work perfected. I don't disown it. His struggles merely tightened and tangled. Then at my leisure, choosing the best place in his helpless body, I pushed the blade into him. Once, twice. Twice he screamed. You heard him. Then his eyes stared elsewhere, every muscle straining for life, his body arched like a bowstring being strung. I placed the point to the third and final time, and drove the blade clean through him. That was my thanks to God for fulfilling my prayers. I offered this murder up to God, protector of the dead. So there it is, old man of Argos. Applaud or weep as you please. I exult.
Your words are stupefying. How dare you celebrate over a husband you have just murdered?
You think me an irresponsible woman? You are making a mistake. My heart and my brain are like this sword, bronze, and forged with a cruel purpose. And here is Agamemnon, dead as the floor he cannot feel, and from which he will never get up. And here is the hand that contracted justice to kill him, and it killed him.
All of Argos will condemn this work of yours with cries of loathing. You'll be driven from Argos, outlawed, polluted, accursed.
How ready you are, Orestes, to be so of banishment. Where were you when this monster here butchered his own daughter on the block? He found it easier than sacrificing one of his precious cattle to butcher my daughter like somebody else's goat, all to persuade the wind to shift a few points. He ripped my daughter's neck and shook the blood out of her, all to gratify his whimpering lovesick brother and to catch some runaway girl. Why didn't you judge Agamemnon? It never occurred to you? You were afraid of him. But now you have the power to be righteous. You think you can handle me? Let's put it to the test. Let's see what your power amounts to when you discover how little power you have.
Yes, power. It's this power that's driven you mad. Power, power, and the greed for more power made your cunning stupid. Your time is fast coming when your blood will join Agamemnon's. Friendless, dishonoured, every man's hand against you. Wound for wound, you shall pay.
You think you are forgetting something? I too can swear a sacred oath. The gods can hear me too. By my daughter's protector, Justice, I swear I am not afraid of this murderous avenger. While my own protector, Aeschylus, stands at my hearth beside me. With such a shield I feel my strength and fear nothing.
He is our king, our holy leader. Mourn him. He protects his people. What will happen to Argos without him?
Unfathomable evil. The spirit of evil wears the face of Clytemnestra. The curse descends generation to generation, arrive behind your lips. It forms your words, wields your thoughts.
Then blame the curse. Yes, blame the curse that hates on our house.
You are not guiltless.
You sharpened the weapon, as surely you held it.
Where's right and wrong in this nightmare? Each becomes the ghost of the other. Each is driven mad by the ghost of the other. Who can reason it out? Who will bury him? Will you? First kill him, then bewail his tomb with your lies.
I killed him. I'll bury him. There'll be no fuss, no futile pompous display. And Iphigenia, his beloved daughter, who died in Maygar, will welcome him to the land of the dead with a silent kiss.
Revenge begets revenge. That is the law of Zeus. But this law of Zeus is a kind of disease inherited through blood. See how it has crazed every member of this household.
If I were treacherous, when Agamemnon here cursed this house afresh, his treachery was worse. While I wept myself blind, he closed his eyes. He closed his eyes. And the sword he brought down on the nape of her neck severed his own backbone.
Justice! At last, the day of justice has dawned. This is perfect proof that the gods watch men and punish evil. What a beautiful sight to see this man gagged and bound at last. He has paid for the inhuman crimes his father committed against my father. You should know, his father and my father quarreled. Agamemnon's father, Atreus, ruled Argos, and he had cast out of the city his brother, my father Thyestes. Thyestes came back, forgave, begged to be forgiven, sat at the hearth of Atreus, a supplicant, happy simply to live in peace with his brother. Happy simply to live. Atreus hid his hatred. He gave my father a feast, and he took my brothers, the two eldest sons of Thyestes, cut their throats and bled them, butchered them and stewed the meat, the feet with their toes, the hands with the fingers, he hid at the bottom of the dish. On top of this, he laid steaks and collops, the chopped up livers and kidneys, the hearts and the brains, and this was the dish set steaming before my father. He gorged himself to honour the feast until he realised what he was swallowing. When he recognised it, when he recognised the hands and the feet, he fell backwards, and as he kicked the table over, he shouted this curse just as this bowl shatters, so that the whole lineage of Atreus be shattered and spilt. That day was fatal to Agamemnon. As this court proved, I plotted the killing. I was the third brother, an exiled babe nursing my stricken father. Justice guided my steps the long way round to this palace. Now, seeing justice so perfectly done, I think I could die happy.
Aegisthus, you'll condemn yourself. If this whole plot was your doing, then your life is the price. You will be stoned to death by every man of Argos.
Do I hear the mutterings below the deck? Do you hear the slaves? You old men are about to learn something, and the lesson is going to be hard. Be careful what you say to the club that could easily break your teeth.
Aeschylus, you are a coward. While the king was fighting and thousands died, you sprawled on his bed and polluted his wife. And when you returned, you made yourself scarce.
What you say sounds like a man about to break down in tears. Your yapping pesters our ankles. It's about time you felt the weight of your master.
Your weight? You, our master, on the throne of Agamemnon, who plotted his death so cruelly. Then let a woman do it.
It needed a woman. She was my bait, essential to my plot. How could he have trusted me, knowing our history? Now, his treasury flowing through my hands will help the people love me and obey me. But the stubborn ones, the stiff-necked, will find themselves broken.
You are fearless of voice, but you fled and hid from the eyes of Agamemnon. You killed He corrupted a woman to kill him because you did not dare. Where is Orestes?
Good fortune. You blessed good fortune. God bid for Orestes to rid the earth of this pair.
Do you hear these grey-haired revolutionaries? Guards, finish the killings!
Our swords are ready, and we are ready for death and honor.
You are praying for death. Now you can have it.
Stop! Beloved Aeschylus, we have planted enough of this horrible fruit already. The ripening of this first crop will bring us more than enough grief. You elders, be wise. What had to be done is done with. Destiny cannot be sidestepped.
They can't get away with this. I felt their contempt. You heard their insults. Are you really going to let them push all that back into their scabbards?
No man of Argos would bend his neck to a dog.
But they will bend their necks to someone who will whip them like dogs.
Orestes. Fate. Find Orestes.
No doubt he's chewing the cud of exile somewhere.
Why you gorge here on the carcass of justice? Fathom while you can.
You fools! These words you're so eager to release will return to kill you.
You mucky cockerel! Even your head is ashamed of you!
Whatever comes from their mouths, it amounts to nothing. Their feet are kicking in the air. You and I, Aeschylus, we are the law. All the lives of the people of Argos dangle on our word. Whatever we speak, that is the law. At last, the throne of Argos is ours.
Hermes, you who guide the soul after death into the underworld, right my wrong, hear my prayer. I've come home after a long exile. I offer the hair of my head to you, my father. Cutting off this lock, I lay down my childhood. This is my grief, my mourning, and my oath. I wasn't there when they killed you, but now I've arrived to do what must be done.
Who are these women? Are they coming here? Mourners in black. They come this way. And there, so visibly isolated by a cruel sorrow, Electra, my sister. Zeus, O great God, let me have revenge for my father. Grant me only this. Be with me as I step towards this. I should stand aside. I want to hear what these women are up to, and I may learn more.
A shout broke the silence of midnight. Sleepers awoke and lay in terror. A dream was bellowed through all rooms of the house, out of the sleeping throat of Clytemnestra.
Fate used her sleeping mouth to tell every listener of the dead are furious for vengeance against the murderers.
So the queen, detested by the gods and the dead, sent us at first light to pour out offerings into the ice lot.
Rich wine wrung from the terrible heart of Clytemnestra, which now begins to stagger with fear. What prayers can wash that heart, or wash this accursed royal house?
Once, all proud Argos willingly bowed to a monarch who earned his place. Not anymore. Reverence has drained into the soil like the wine of a shattered goblet. Nothing is admired but to have great good luck and get away with it.
Women, you who are bound to serve the house, since you attend me here today at the performing of this rite, advise me. What prayers ought I to pray with all these gifts for a tomb? Shall I pour the wine out crying, I bring this from your wife, my mother Clytemnestra, and I pour it as a pledge of our love? That would need a tongue of bronze. I cannot pour out the wine and follow the custom, asking for a blessing on the givers when I should be asking for justice.
Pour the wine and pray for those you can trust.
Those I can trust? Who can I trust?
Yourself and all those who hate Aeschylus.
For myself and for you? What other can there be that I can trust?
Pray for Orestes. Pray for far-off Orestes.
Orestes, yes, for Orestes.
And for the murderers, pray that a god or a man may come bringing justice.
To judge, to convict, to condemn.
To kill. Blood for blood. Pray for that.
Can God hear a prayer for assassination?
Evil for evil is justice, and justice is holy.
O Hermes, messenger of the gods, pathfinder and guide of the underworld, speak for me. Awaken the powers of the dark earth, protectors of this house. And now I pour out the water of purification for my dead father, and I call on his spirit. Father, pity your children. We are disinherited and homeless, bartered by our own mother, sold off in exchange for Aeschylus. How shall we get our home back? Aeschylus and your queen, Clytemnestra, glitter among the luxuries of your treasures like two serpents coiled together in a gorged sleep. Father, where is Orestes? Guide him home. Hear my prayer and answer it. All I ask for myself is to be unlike my mother. Hands, heart, thoughts clean, unlike my mother. Conscience clean, undarkened by blood, unlike my mother. These prayers for us. Now for our enemies, Father, your avenger. Let him come with a blade, remorseless as the blade they push through you. Let him measure it out, the length and the breadth of death for death, justice for murder.
Out of our eyes our tears are bottomless. Pour them for Agamemnon. Bring his avenger. Bring the resolving blade to cut the rope of guilt that chokes this house. The strangling cramp of the two bodies knotted in a crime. Hack them apart.
Wine has gone into the grave. My father drinks my libation. What's this? A tress of hair laid on my father's grave?
Is it the hair of a man or a woman? Who laid it there?
Can't you see whose it is?
If you know, tell us, whose is it?
No other of Agamemnon's house would have offered it if not me. Colour, texture, everything about it as I hold it, all so familiar.
What's so familiar? Whose head does it resemble?
The hair of my family.
Orestes?
The hair resembles his.
How could Orestes dare so put an Argos to lay this tribute of hair in his father's grave?
He mourns at a distance. He sent it in secret.
He had to send it. Orestes dare not stand in his native land, at his family's tomb.
No other from Argos owned this. Not that murderess, my mother. Nevertheless, my heart struggles. It faints from the belief that Orestes sent this tress of hair. If this hair could speak for itself, if it could tell me loud and clear that it comes from the head of Orestes, then it could bless me and bless this tomb and honour Agamemnon.
Your prayers are answered. Now you can boast that the great gods hear and obey.
Who are you? Which are my words that the gods obeyed?
Your oldest prayer, fulfilled this very moment.
If you know my secret prayer, you know the name it bears.
Your every heartbeat pronounces a name.
Orestes? Do I call you Orestes? It is your face, Orestes, the face of my four joys. All that remains of our father, all that remains of our mother, who became the murderess of our mother when she murdered our father. All that remains of our sister, Iphigenia, sacrificed so lightly for a puff of air. 3 vessels of love poured into you, my fourth, my brother, who has not changed. Your very name delivers me from slavery and shame.
Zeus, look down, look at us. Look at Orestes and Electra, orphaned and exiled. Root out this evil monarchy. Let our glory rise again.
Not so loud, not so loud. The air is an ear.
There is no tongue that can forego the pleasant feeling when another man's secret makes us the wonder of stand written.
Apollo's command is like fate. No man can refuse it. The voice of Apollo, relentless, directs my feet, my mind, my hand towards this collision of killer with killer, recounting the horrors waiting for me if I fail. And if I fail, I pay for failure with my own life.
Justice brings everything to a balance.
For every word a word, for hatred hatred, for every fatal stroke a fatal stroke, for sacrilege a violent death,
For pride, the neck broken.
Father, you would be better dead beneath Troy's wall, slain in open battle by a brave man's weapon. Your honour would be our wealth, your name our glory in the mouths of all who remember Troy.
You would have shone in the underworld, like a new star.
You would have reigned there, a king over many kings, just as on earth you reigned a king over kings.
Better he were not dead anywhere, either beside Scamander among those broken against the wall of Troy, or here, tangled in a crime that is our family's madness. The murderers. They are the ones that should be dead, rotten, and underground. Where was the accident that could have removed them both in some casual fashion before their plot snared us all in this blood-sodden knot?
You lords of the underworld, you crowned and throned curses, look at us, lead us, guide us.
To stir up the dead, bring them crowding the air, Tell them the story of our mother. Mother, with your stone eyes, you buried our father under a heap of stones.
With loveless hands, she dishonoured not only a husband, not only a king, a father, thrown into the earth with a laugh of triumph. My hands, as pitiless as hers, shall draw the payment for that from her heart.
What they did to his body, they did to my spirit and heart. They flung me out like a dead dog. When you want to know what grief means, remember me.
Now let your will, like your grief, be stronger than life.
The justice you bring is stronger than life.
Assume that strength.
Father, rise up and possess me.
We are yours, Father. Save us. Rise up and save us.
Help me remove them as they removed you, either by the truth of justice or by simple might of right. And let me deal with them as they dealt with you.
We are the voice of your own race. Your voice lives on only through us.
Don't let your last seed fall into the earth and rot. While we live, you who are dead are alive.
Words can do no more. If words alone could quench it, you have more than quenched the long thirst of this tomb.
Nothing remains but the act. Everything waits for the act.
Act, and prove that heaven and earth want the act done. Quickly, now.
It is true. There's nothing left for me but to perform it. And yet I'm curious, what prompted the Queen to send a troop of mourners with wine and oil to her husband's grave? If it be remorse, why so belated?
That I can tell you. After a nightmare that rode her out of her sleep, tearing the bed sheets, clutching her maid and screaming, she sent these gifts.
Did she describe this dream? Can you describe it?
She described it. She dreamed she was having a child, but instead she birthed a snake.
What else? Nothing else. Did she give it a meaning?
In her dream, she swallowed the snake like a baby. She cradled it in her arms and she kissed it.
How did she feed this child that wasn't a child?
She began to suckle the fattened jaws.
Blood came out with the milk. The snake chewed on milk and blood, curdling together.
She was right. The dream crept from her husband's grave.
She woke screaming, clawing the wall of her bedchamber. Torches were lit up throughout the palace, so the place blazed with light, and she sat sobbing, suddenly terrified of Agamemnon.
One more prayer to the earth that embraces my father's bones. Let me be the meaning of this nightmare. Let my sword interpret it. The meaning is plain. I am that snake. Her dream is our fate, hers and mine. She must die, and I must murder her.
You know your friends tell us. Which must we do what? A cliff on.
Electra, you go back inside the palace. Your part is to allay suspicion. Treachery gave them the throne, and treachery will take it from them at the same price. Here is my part. I shall arrive at the gates of the palace. The guards there will see a foreigner, dressed like a man from Focus, and announcing that I've come to the palace with a purpose. Once I get inside the palace and see that creature Aeschylus squatting on my father's throne, before I can say, "What is your name?" my blade will split his heart. Electra, keep watchful inside the palace. Let nobody spring our simple trap. You women, say nothing, or speak only as if you knew nothing. And you, Hermes, God of dark pathways, guide my sword. Make it the royal road to the underworld for these killers. Strangers at the gate, travellers at the gate. If the house forgives us with open door and as custom, we are strangers with news.
If your news is so important, let me have it. The open hospitality of this house is famous throughout Argos. Everything is yours. Hot baths, cool beds, and a welcome fitted to your station and every entertainment. What is this news?
I come from Focus. I'm a merchant, brought here by the market of Argos. But your gate is my first stop. On my way here, I met a man, Strophius, also from Focus. When he heard of my destination, he asked if I would like to carry some news to the king of Argos. It might do you some good, he told me. Here is the news. Remember it. Orestes is dead. Deliver this message, he said, and tell them he has been born according to custom, with all the ceremonies necessary, and that his ashes line a bronze casket.
Curse from the blood of this house has reached the last drop.
Forgive me. It would have been far better if I brought good news to a house of such high fortune, but I bound myself to deliver the news he needed to know, sharp as it is.
Stranger, you've earned all you could hope for. This house is your house. Show him to his chambers. See, everything is done for him as would be done for my own family. Aeschylus shall hear this news. Our counsellors will help us decide what to make of it.
The strongest man and the most valiant is weaker than his mother. Now is the time to give our strength to Orestes.
You heap of earth covering Agamemnon. Hear our prayer.
Breathe power into the cunning of Orestes. Put a new edge on his sword. Guide it through the lightning split second that determines a life.
Our man in focus is making himself felt. This is Callista, once the nurse of Orestes. Callista, what have you heard? What has happened?
The queen wanted Aeschylus to hear the news from strangers. She has sent me to bring him. Now she has heard the news herself. Her face is a mask of grief. She wears it for us, but through that mask, her eyes blaze with joy. Her wild sobbing is a kind of uncontrollable laughter. Hearing this, Aeschylus will also weep for joy. He will collapse in his chair and bury his face. He will hide his head in his hands, incredulous with joy. I thought I had done with feeling. I thought I could bear anything, like a stone in the floor. But now, Orestes is dead, Orestes. I took him fresh from his mother's womb, fragrant as an armful of flowers. It was me he cried for night after night. It was me he tore out with his endless wants. He was my life, and I was his. And as he grew up, I was his wisdom. It was me he came to, his father away in Troy. I was the oracle for Orestes. And now, I must bring this man, who is hardly a man, the murderer of Agamemnon, to hear the best news of his life. That Orestes is dead.
How is Aeschylus to present himself to these strangers? Are there any instructions?
Should he come with his bodyguard? Aeschylus never stirs without bodyguard.
No, tell him to come alone. Tell him this man is a timid merchant who will be too easily overawed, too easily scared into silence. If he wants the whole story, tell him he must come alone.
Are you so anxious for the story to be told of the death of Orestes, the death of our last hope?
What if the great hand of Zeus should change the story, like a wind, to blow in the opposite direction?
Is there any other news? What have you heard?
Go and deliver your message. Bring Aeschylus to hear the biggest news you'll ever hear, and leave the work of the gods to the gods. Zeus, you God over all gods, all we pray for is justice. Let the misfortunes of this house be corrected according to justice. Let all who have prayed for justice see the throne of Argos today return to the rule of justice.
The son of Agamemnon stands in his own palace. Now bring the detestable one, as a beast, to be sacrificed.
Zeus, you loved Agamemnon. Make the way clear for his son to reach the murderer with the sword of your justice.
Where is this merchant who comes with the shocking news of the death of Orestes? This is an evil day if he brings the truth, and are we to believe that the curse in this house is delivering its latest? On top of it, it's already intolerable?
The merchant is waiting. Ask him for the truth, simple and plain.
Where is he? Let me hear him. Let me hear what is known from those who know it. And the first question first. Was he there when Orestes died? Or is this just some new rumour picked up in some marketplace? Better he tell me the hard fact, that he is dealing with a man who sees through men and the mesh of words.
Zeus, dumb we pray, no words for the prayer to guide this moment, to level this blade, to set the point and slam the hilt to the ribcage.
Whose voice was that? Whose death cry was that? Who's our master now? Say nothing, do nothing till we know. Either the best has happened, or the worst. Our lives have been decided.
Aeschylus is dead! Aeschylus is dead!
Where are the bodyguards? Is everybody dead?
Warn the queen to protect herself.
What is all this yelling about? Are you out of your minds? This is a palace.
The dead have risen. They butcher the living.
I knew it. I knew it. I could not believe it would be possible, but I knew it. cunning we killed, now cunning will kill us. Bring me a weapon. By God, let it be settled. Let this long, bloody curse come to the last drop.
He has paid the price. Now it's your turn.
Oh, my love, can your huge strength help you?
Since he was your love, you shall sleep with him.
Orestes, do not point at me with your blade. See the one who fed you when you were helpless. Who was your first pillow when you were helpless?
Can a man kill his own mother? Can he perform anything more dreadful than the murder of his own mother? What shall I do?
Remember the words of Apollo. Obey the command of the god of the oracle. Embrace the enmity of mankind, rather than be false to the word of heaven.
Wise words, spoken at the right moment. Mother, I'm going to kill you now, over the corpse of your darling. While both were alive, you preferred him to my father. Now both are dead, you are stuck with your bargain forever.
I gave you your life. Let me have mine.
Yes, you gave me life, then made sure it was wretched. A life of misery, bitterness, humiliation, and the worst is still to come after I've killed you. This was your gift. You gave me life, then spat me out as a curse.
I tried to protect you. Your trusted guardians were our friends. I arranged it.
I was born heir to the throne. You bartered us away, both me and my throne.
How did I barter you? What was your price?
That carcass. I shame to name or describe it.
Your father was not so faithful. Are you forgetting?
He laboured in battle, while you played on his bed.
Well, you murdered your own mother.
Me murder you? Mother, you have already murdered yourself. I merely hold a sword as you fall.
Remember the Furies that rise from the blood of a mother.
If I relent, who lives with my father's curse?
But here is my dream. Here is the snake, crawled down my womb and bit my breast.
Your dream was no dream but prophecy. Your crime was sacrilege. Your punishment shall be sacrilege the same. Here are the tyrants. These are my father's murderers, murderers of your king, Agamemnon. While they were alive, they shared one throne, one bed, and the whole wealth of Argos. Now they are dead, they share only death. While I'm still sane among you, let me declare this. It was not a sin to kill my mother. Apollo gave me the strength to perform this act of justice. The great God commanded me to do it. I'm going to the temple at the centre of the earth, Apollo's house. That place is my sanctuary. Apollo told me to flee there and be safe after I punish my mother. Let all men of Argos, now and in the future, witness my innocence. My mother's death was decided in heaven by the gods. I was simply their weeping instrument.
You are justice itself. You've enacted justice. You boldly act in all its brilliance with such gloomy words. Have the courage of your destiny. You have liberated Argos, your own land.
Look, there. Look, women in grey cloaks with the face of Gorgons. Don't you see them? They're coming.
Our prince, Orestes, this is your day of triumph. All your enemies are dead. All of Argos rejoices in you.
These are hallucinations after your inhuman exertions. You have nothing to fear.
Ah, Apollo! The earth is teeming with these creatures. Apollo, you did not warn me. They climb out of the earth. Eyes like weeping ulcers, mouths like fetid wounds.
Hurry to Apollo's temple. Apollo will cleanse you. He will wash your eyes clear in these visions.
You can't see them, I can see them. You can't feel their wits, I can feel them.
Only God can help Orestes. May God help him. May God guide his blind steps finally to peace.
You see how the ancient curse on this house strikes the third time, like a thunderbolt, and how the terrible blood splashes at last into the hands of a good and innocent man.
The butchery of Thyestes' children began it. Next came the treachery of Clytemnestra, who stabbed her royal husband Agamemnon.
A madness began it, brother against brother. A madness redoubled it, wife against husband.
Is this the last sin against mother? How will Orestes break this ring of madness?
Do you
I am beside you. Wherever you range, I guide your steps. The Furies are quiet. These hags, hated by gods and men, for a while they sleep. Now is your chance. Hurry, be off, be strong. They will hunt you over the mountains and across the continent. They will hunt you from island to island, city to city. Wherever earth can be trodden, they will pursue you. Bear your suffering to Athens. Embrace the image of Athene. Beg for her help.
Apollo, I commit my whole life to your guidance.
Above all, keep your courage, firm as the blade that never wavered when it did not.
Wake up! Have you forgotten? Orestes who murdered his mother. He's getting away. He's gone. You hunt in your sleep. You stir, but your prey flies. He has better allies. His help him at every corner. But mine? Sleep. After him! Catch him! After him! Seize him! After him! You hunt in your sleep like dogs. But what about your duty? What about my pain? Strip his conscience naked with your whips dipped in acid. Deafen him with blasts of outrage. Hunt him into his grave.
Awake! 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 What was that voice? Orestes has tricked us. We've overslept like simple fools.
Apollo, you may be a god, but you behave like a trickster. You ignore the old rules, you contradict and defy the older powers.
You call it justice to convince a man that his mother must be executed, then go on to protect the matricide as if motherhood was some accident better forgotten.
How can that be justice? How can it be right? Apollo, you may be the wisest of the gods, the god of prophecy, but you've broken the old laws. The laws that destiny woven into the brains and bodies of men. You have rejected their claim, and you've done it to help one man. Get out of this temple, all of you. This place is sacred to prophecy. You do not belong here. You belong in the dungeon, furnished for torturers. The den of flaying, dismemberment, impalement. That is your banqueting hall. The chamber of screams is your rest place, for which you are detested by heaven. Take your living corpses out of this blessed precinct. Out! Out! Out!
Now I speak. You, Apollo, are to blame for everything that Orestes has done. Orestes obeyed you, but you obeyed no one. It was your oracle that commanded him to kill his mother and guaranteed him immunity for a crime. That was agony to the earth.
My oracle ordered him to avenge his father.
Bloodied by her blood, he ran to you for protection.
I told him to flee to the safety of the temple. We are a sacred escort. Why do you revile us? You desecrate this temple.
Our presence here with Orestes is our duty, the duty imposed on us by the earth to harry the matricide, to hunt him out of his land and out of his wits.
When a wife murders her husband, who hunts her? Wife and husband share no lineal blood. Whatever her act may be called, it is not sacrilege. So breaking the holy contract of marriage, blessed and sealed by Zeus and Hera, breaking it in a violent passion with a murderous weapon is not sacrilege. The most sacred agreement among men is the marriage contract, which binds two total strangers to love each other, to protect each other, and blend their love in a third who loves both. But you recognize no contract with the father, neither between his wife and him, nor between him and his son, whose blood he shares. This may be the law of the earth, but it is not human justice. Only Athene, great goddess of wisdom, can judge this. She shall hear our call.
We shall never leave Orestes.
After him, then, do your worst.
May be parted in heaven, one of the greatest in the circle of the gods, but I shall sniff out Orestes by the smell of his mother's blood. I shall bring him to bay, and I shall demand justice.
Orestes asked me for help. In hell, on earth, and in heaven, I shall help him. And should I ever forsake him, hell and earth and heaven would crumble into a chaos of rage against me.
Athene, goddess of divine wisdom, Apollo has directed me to a temple here in Athens. Be patient with me, Athene. Hear my story to the end. Favour me with your judgment.
trail grows clear like a track of fire. The smell of his mother's blood clings to his heels, plain as a blood-splashed root in the nose of the hounds.
Now he is here. Where is he? He's here somewhere. The reek of his fear is thick in the air.
Look! There, that's him, the matricide! Block the door, close the trap, don't let him get away!
Once again, he's found a refuge from the taste of our whips. This time, clinging to a statue of a goddess and begging for a justice kinder than these lashes.
There is no hope for Orestes. His mother's blood convicts him.
Your guilty soul shall render to us the rags of the body she gave you. As long as you live, your body will render to us these dues. Fate has granted your body to us, to hunt and consume till you are dead.
The blood has been washed from my hands. I have cleansed myself of the guilt of matricide with the blood offerings at the shrine of Apollo. Now I call on the city of Athens. With holy words, I call on the great goddess Athene, whose wisdom rules Athens. I call on her to help me. Myself, my own land of Argos, and all who belong to Argos shall be hers, bound to her in a sacred alliance, if she will help me. I call on her to judge my case and to save me.
Apollo cannot save you, Athene cannot save you, but you are mine. There is no justice but ours. The pure man goes free. He does not interest us. Only the sinner, hiding his bloody hands, covering his head with his bloody hands. We convict him. We drag out of his body the price of the blood he has shed.
Fate, who shapes everything that happens on earth, appointed us to do this work.
Zeus abhors us that we do his work. For Zeus we howl in the murderer's trail. Law is everlasting, and we are the everlasting enforcers of the law. We are hated, but the law cannot bend or renounce its course.
Who summoned me with such a powerful voice? And now, I am astonished by what I see. Who are you? You, who cling to my effigy like a child clinging to his mother. And you, creatures that cannot be described, like nothing that belongs on this earth or among the gods. But let me be just. Let me remember the fair tongue of reason.
Daughter of Zeus, hear us. We are the daughters of primeval darkness. Our land is deeper than the earth. Men call us their curse.
I know you, and I know what men say of you.
Perhaps you do, and we shall hear our duties.
Be simple and clear.
We hunt all who commit murder.
Can your prey escape you?
Only where happiness was never known.
You were driving this man beyond that limit.
Orestes killed his mother deliberately.
Did no greater power force him to do it?
What power can madden a man to kill his mother?
Is this the case you present? If so, who speaks against you?
Try him, hear the facts, then give judgment.
But will you accept my decision?
We trust your father's name and his great wisdom.
Orestes, speak. You believe in my justice? That is what brings you so far to kneel here like a statue, fixed at the foot of my statue. Tell me first, your country, your breeding, your history, and then reply to this charge, and let your words be simple and clear.
Athene, goddess of divine wisdom, I was born in Argos. You know my father. You joined with him to crush Troy, Agamemnon. When he came home and stripped to wash off the long war's weariness, my mother opened her arms and enfolded him in a net, then killed him, where he rolled, helpless, in the water. I returned after years of exile. I knew what had happened. I loved my father, and Apollo had let me know what I would suffer if I failed to avenge his murder. So I killed my mother. Was I right or wrong? Athene, be my judge. I'll accept your decision.
This case is too deep for a man, nor can I let the law, like an axe, fall mechanically on a murderer. But your accusers have to be heard. And if their case fails, what happens to their anger? It whirls up into the air, it blackens heaven. It falls like a plague on Athens. How am I to deal with this dilemma? Let me select a jury of the wisest among the citizens of this city. Let them be the first of a permanent court passing judgment on a murder. They shall be sworn into integrity and truth. They shall have the full use of my wisdom.
This is an evil day.
If this new jury, by some juggling, exculpate this killer, his example will become a model, a license for homicide.
Children washing their hands in the blood of their parents will thank Orestes for opening the gate in a war for which they can walk blameless.
Man cannot do good without fear of the consequences of doing evil. If the work of man's hand is not supervised by the Furies, that hand will stop at nothing.
The man without fear of the law will easily kill as if by nature, and the city without fear of the law is that killer's playground.
All jurors and citizens, you people of Athens, assemble in silence. Acknowledge what I created to serve men, to establish justice now and throughout all time to come.
Apollo, look after your own affairs. You have no right to vote in this case. Your presence here today is interference.
Let what I have to say decide that. According to the law, this man, Orestes, is under my sacred protection. Since I appointed the stroke of the sword blade that dispatched his mother, it is for me to argue his case.
You, the plaintiff, speak first. The charge must be heard in full.
Many as we are, our words will be few and to the point. Did you or did you not kill your mother?
I cannot deny it. I killed her.
So there's a first round, and we have won it.
Don't be too pleased with yourself too quickly. There's more to come.
Even so, describe to us how you killed her.
I stabbed her through the heart with my sword.
And who talked you into this act?
Apollo. He is my witness.
The great god of poetry and prophecy persuaded you to matricide, yeah?
He did, and has protected me ever since.
You'll think differently when his court condemns you.
My mother's guilt was double, which doubled her sentence.
What do you mean? Explain yourself to the court.
She killed her husband, and she killed my father.
Her death came for, but you are alive.
While she lived, after she killed her husband and my father, where were you in your justice?
We stir only for killers of their own blood kin.
Is my blood my mother's?
Butcher, you were made in her womb by her blood. How can you deny the blood that your mother fed into your veins?
Apollo, tell them. Prove that my act, my killing, was an act of justice. Make this clear, Apollo. Teach me how to defend what I've done.
Great court of Athene, let me speak as the god of true prophecy. All my words are just and true. So it was with what I said to Orestes. Remember too, no oath or other earthly consideration can counter the nod of Zeus.
Are you saying that Zeus dictated the words that you dictated through your oracle? Are you saying that Clytemnestra, remembering Iphigenia, had no case when she murdered Agamemnon?
The word of Zeus is law. The two deaths, of Agamemnon and of Clytemnestra, are utterly different from one another. He was a king, invested in divine right. Agamemnon had returned, triumphant, from a long war. He cleansed his battle-stained body in the ritual bath. Clytemnestra attended him in this cleansing. But then, as he stepped out of the water, she flung a robe of mesh around him and pushed him backwards. Helpless, he fell into the bath, and there, as he lay, netted in the water, she drove her sword through him 3 times. Citizens, and you who sit on the jury, who are here to judge Orestes, this was how the father of Orestes died. And now you know what kind of woman killed him.
You are saying Zeus values only the father? Yet how did Zeus treat his own father? When Christ came out, he bound him not in a net of silk, but in a net of chains. Since when did fathers come so precious? Jurors, are you here?
Filthy witches, rubbish of creation. Chains can be unwound, but blood cannot be recalled from the dust. Once a life is out, you cannot relight it. Death is the only ailment for which Zeus appointed no cure.
The moment has come for the jurors to consult their conscience and cast their vote. Have plaintiff and defendant finished?
I shall abide by the jurors' verdict.
Are you happy to hear the jurors make their judgments?
The jury is heard. As they cast their votes, let them remember their oath, and let them also remember the primal laws of the earth.
Citizens of Athens, this is the first case of homicide to be tried in the court I've established. This court is yours. From today, every homicide shall be tried before this jury of Athenians. Here, my law shall stand, unchanged, through the hours of the day, the days of the years. Where a pure spring is polluted by a filthy trickle, no man can drink or will drink without being poisoned. I open on this rock the pure spring of my laws. Do not taint them by any expedient shifter advantages. Above all, remember the power of fear and cherish it in your ministry of the laws. The man who does not fear the consequences of anything he does lets his evil dreams into the open. He lets them play in the sun. It is fear that crowns the law with a halo of sanctity. In this court you have a fortress possessed by no other people. I give you this court, and I bless it. Like heaven, holy, and like heaven, vigilant, quick to anger and to punish. Now set your hearts in your oath and give judgment. Cast your vote with your whole being in heaven. I've spoken.
If we lose this judgment, the land and the city of Athens will decay. We shall blast it with a curse.
The old gods detest you as much as we, the younger gods, detest you. We shall win this judgment.
You are young, we are old. You think you can trample us down. The moment we hear verdict will be moments soon enough to avenge ourselves on Athens.
I have the final casting vote. You jurors, once your votes are counted, my vote goes for Orestes. In my reckoning, the death of the woman who killed her husband weighs nothing against the death of her victim. Therefore, if the votes of the jury are equal, I give the judgment to Orestes.
The vote is cast. Count with care. Your sorting is sacrosanct, where justice is divine. Loss of a single vote will bring a man's life down in ruins. One vote gained will raise the ruins of a life to a future of good fortune.
The votes of the jury are equal. Therefore, my vote decides it. Orestes is acquitted.
Athene, you have given exile his own home. Now it can be said, Orestes is an Argive. Orestes upholds his father's throne. I'm going back to Argos, but before I go, let me swear this. For all time to come, Athens shall be the beloved friend of Argos. No Argive shall ever carry a weapon against Athens. And for you, people of Athens, I pray, may all your enemies be humbled. For you, may the word battle and the word victory be forever one.
The earth is overthrown, our laws are obsolete. You younger gods who argue us out of court and rob us what is ours, you violate creation, you dishonour the voices of blood in the earth.
I shall not weep for Athens where this forum of slippery orations mocking justice was invented.
I shall not weep for the folly of Athens when the daughters of darkness, the voices of blood in the earth take their revenge.
Our justice is buried like the ashes of Troy.
The voice of the blood you have banished cries from the stones.
But that very voice shall rise like a miasma and fall on this madness and the madness and the contagion. I shall not weep when the scream of all living creatures goes up from Athens.
Noble ladies, I beseech you, suspend your anger till you've heard me speak. This vote, fairly arrived at, is no humiliation to you. How could Orestes not be saved when the great god who ordered him to strike reveals the hand of Zeus signing the warrant? Let your rage pass into understanding as into the clouded clouds of a sunset, promising a fair tomorrow. Do not let it fall as a rain of sterility and anguish on Athens. Accept this verdict, and here in Athens, the envied city, you shall have a permanent home. You shall sit on thrones of dignity, in a sacred cavern, or receive tributes of gratitude and honour forever from all our people. If you live here, in a sanctuary prepared for you, you shall be cherished as nowhere else on earth. You shall be acknowledged. You shall be honoured. As marriage and childbirth, those oldest sacraments of blood, where two strangers are united out of love and a new being is brought out of chaos, all shall pay you tribute.
What rights come with it if we accept it?
No family shall flourish without your favour.
Can this promise be kept?
Athene promises nothing she cannot perform.
Your words have stirred us. They have melted our anger.
Here in Athens, you're among friends.
Let us bless Athens. Never let civil war, the most malignant of all misunderstandings, divide Athens. Give Athens a single mind, a whole mind, as a marriage gives to two strangers one child. And we bless all who live in this city, who love this rock, who walk with the gods, all who fear us and welcome us, all whose prayers are humble. We shall bless you.
Terrible kindly ones, come to your rest in the flame of torches, and let the voice of every citizen, with a shout of welcome, be made holy. Pour out the wine, let the pine bough crack and blaze. Zeus, father of all, guards the city of Athens. So God and fate, in a divine marriage, are made one in the flesh of our people, and the voice of their shout is single and holy.